Hello, my friends. Tony Moore, the Culture Architect. In last week's email, I introduced the phrase unbridled strengths. Simply stated, I have come to recognize that there are times when my strengths prove to be a hindrance to my team's success. Let me repeat that for you because my guess is you're thinking, did he say what I thought he said? Simply stated, I have come to recognize that there are times when my strengths prove to be a hindrance to my team's success. I refer to them as unbridled strengths in the sense that they fail to consider when, where, how, with whom, and under what circumstances I leverage them. They are in fact used without restraint. This week, I'd like to share another example of the negative impact unbridled strengths can have on your successful transition into a new leadership position and ultimately land you in the weeds. Over the years, I've taken a lot of assessments, the DISC, the Strength Finders, and the Myers-Briggs to name a few. I mentioned last week that the Predictive Index is my favorite. It is our team's go-to assessment tool in the work we do helping leaders get out of the weeds. As a reminder, the PI, or Predictive Index, measures behavioral drives and cognitive abilities. If you would, check out a few of these strength-based words or statements from my PI behavioral report. It says that I am proactive, assertive, and have a high sense of urgency. I'm impatient for results, put a lot of pressure on myself and others for rapid implementation, and I have an affection for risk-taking and a focus on future goals. These words and statements, and many others from my PI behavioral report, accurately identify what I refer to as my natural wiring. Unfortunately, when these strengths are unbridled, they lead to mistake number 2, making changes too quickly. Allow me to share an example and, as always, one of my failures so that you can learn from it. I was hired as a part of a leadership team charged with the turnaround of a nonprofit agency in Oklahoma. Upon my arrival, I quickly assessed my areas of responsibility. I met with team members and immediately reached conclusions regarding who on the team would likely be able to help us move forward. I identified multiple operational issues that needed improvement. Then I put together my checklist and went to work as if the house was on fire. You can probably guess, based on that description, how this story ended. You see, even if my conclusions were accurate, my sense of urgency, my impatience for results, and my affection for risk-taking created the perfect storm for absolute failure. Never once did I consider, that I might be wrong. Never once did I engage my team to get their insight into where we needed to focus our attention. I made changes at such a rapid pace that 12 months later, I had an organization full of people who didn't trust me. They were all left wondering, when would I make my next change and what impact would it have on them? My friend, successfully transitioning into a new leadership position takes patience. Whether consciously or subconsciously, making an impact is high on the list of priorities. As you are scanning the landscape, you will quickly identify changes that need to be made. Your assessment may be completely accurate. However, the key to success lies in your ability to modulate your need to take action. You and your team will benefit from your ability to hold your conclusions loosely. My time in Oklahoma taught me many valuable lessons, albeit painful lessons. Here are a few that served me and my teams well in the future. Perhaps they'll benefit you as well. Lesson number 1, your mindset is critical to your success. It's not what changes do I need to make, but rather what changes do we need to make. Number 2, change is like a game of Jenga. You want to understand the impact that moving one block will have on the rest of the structure before you make a move. You need to find out from your team, how have the identified areas of change served them well in the past? And how about this? What might be some of the unintended consequences if we make these changes? Only your team can answer those questions. Which brings us to lesson number 3. Your team's insight is invaluable. Make meeting individually with them the first order of business. You need to connect with your team as quickly as possible because you're going to need them with every change that you and your team go through. And by the way, if you're wondering, well, what am I going to actually ask them when I meet with them? Here's a conversation starter for you. Ask them to come to the meeting prepared with their answer to the following question. If you had been appointed to my position instead of me, what 3 areas would you focus on first in order to increase our team's success? Let me repeat that question because it's a good one. If you had been appointed to my position instead of me, what 3 areas would you focus on first in order to increase our team's success? Imagine the data that you would get from each member of your team. Imagine the opportunity you would have to deliver on some of the things that they think are important. And imagine how much they'll then trust you and be willing to work together with you to take your team's success to the next level. I hope you found these 3 to be helpful. As always, you can reach out to me anytime. Is that cool?